Let's start the mini softball foot treatment with a basic body scan assess. I want you to put your feet side by side and look down at your feet to make sure your feet are absolutely side by side. Close your eyes, don't use your sense of touch, and let's focus on using body sense. Become aware of your feet on the floor. Notice if it feels like you've got more weight on your right foot or your left foot, or if you're noticing a region of either of your feet feeling more pronounced on the ground. Then scan up your legs. Notice if you're clenching any muscles in your thighs or your butt cheeks, or if you're locking out your knees. Draw your awareness back down to your feet. Even though you know you've lined your feet up side by side, notice if it feels like one foot is staggered in front of the other. Take a nice focused breath. Let's open our eyes and start with position point pressing on position point number 1. I want you to start underneath your right foot, and I'm going to mirror you under my left foot. You're going to step on the center of your right foot and put your feet side by side and begin to shift your body weight left and right to find tolerable pressure. Once you can find that tolerable compression point, sustain your pressure and start to move your body around to help your autopilot reacquire its signal to your center of gravity. Remember, your joints are like satellites, so if you move your body around your center of gravity for about 10 seconds, it helps your autopilot reacquire its connection to your center of gravity to keep you more balanced and stable. Now, take your left foot, step backward, and let's bring the ball to position point number 5. Create one nice, gentle compression. Take a focused breath. And then decompress half of the weight so you're evenly weighted between your left and right legs. And let's start gliding. Remember, gliding is that small local compression technique. The secret of doing a good glide is the consistency of pressure, not the depth. Once you get the consistent pressure under position point number 5, slowly work the ball all the way to the back of your heel. Once you reach the back of the heel, bring the ball all the way back to position point number 5. When you get back to position point number 5, tighten up the wiggle for the direct shear. Remember, shearing creates that fluid exchange in a local region. So we're trying to increase the volume of fluid just in your foot so that we can draw that fluid throughout your entire body. Take a nice focused breath and compress the ball. Remember, after you do shearing, you wait for a moment. Now let's rinse. Step backward with your left foot. Place the ball under position point number 2, create consistent pressure, and rinse all the way to your heel. And then decompress. Go to your second knuckle and rinse. Go to the third knuckle, take a focused breath and rinse. And then the fourth knuckle, push and rinse. And then the fifth knuckle, compress and rinse. Pick 2 more spots under your foot. Take a nice focused breath. And then finally, let's try friction, a nice light rubbing motion. Remember, you can pause at any point and find different areas of your foot to create that friction. Keep your balance, take a nice focused breath, and let it go. Let's reassess. Place your feet side by side and close your eyes. Tune in to your body again. Notice the floor. You might notice that your foot feels different, but what I want you to do is use your body sense and draw your awareness up the leg. Notice your left leg. If there's no hydration in our joints, you'll become aware that you actually have joints in the leg. So on your left leg, you might notice that you have a hip, a knee, and an ankle. But on the leg we hydrate, if it feels more seamless and integrated into the ground, we know we've drawn the fluid up through the body. Open your eyes and let's start all over again on your left leg. So same thing, find position point number 1, create gentle compression and begin to shift your body weight left and right to find tolerable pressure. Once you feel like you can tolerate the pressure, sustain it, take a focused breath and start moving your body around. This just takes 5 to 10 seconds. Just give your autopilot time to reacquire its signal to your center of gravity. And then come on back up top. Take your right foot, step backward, and bring the ball underneath position point number 5. Create 1 point of compression, take a focused breath, and then decompress 50% of your body weight so you have evenly distributed weight between your left and right legs. And let's start gliding. Slow, consistent pressure. Don't make the glide too fast. And remember, don't press so hard that you inflict any pain. Slowly work that ball all the way to the back of your heel. And then bring it back to position point number 5. Take a nice focused breath once you get back to position point number 5 and tighten up the wiggle. Nice, small, consistent pressure. Take a nice big breath in and then wait for a moment. Give the tissue a second to adapt, and now let's rinse. Take the ball to position point number 2, create gentle compression at the knuckle, and then push the fluid throughout the foot. Decompress, find your second knuckle, and push. Watch how I'm keeping my body moving so that my other hip doesn't get tired as I create that rinsing motion. Keep your knees soft, breathe as you go through the range. Once you've gone under each knuckle, I want you to take 2 more rinsing passes in any random place under your foot. And then let's try friction. Remember, create balance on your right leg and very lightly rub any random part of the bottom of your foot. Take a nice breath in, and let's do the friction twice on both sides. So go back to the right foot and create that nice light vibrational motion. Remember, friction is your go-to technique that you can do at any point of the day completely on its own to create some fluid exchange in your lymphatic system. At least you're helping your body out. Even if you only have 60 seconds a day, this is an easy technique to do. Take a nice breath in and let it go. Let's reassess and see what this mini foot treatment has done for you. Put your arms at your side. Take a nice focused breath. Notice your footprints. Ideally now the footprints are more cohesive and settled to the floor. If you scan up your legs, ideally now your thighs and butt cheeks are more relaxed and your knees have that natural relaxed position. Draw your awareness back down to your feet. If before you felt like your feet were side by side or staggered a little bit, now ideally they feel more balanced and rooted to the floor. Take a nice focused breath into your body and open your eyes. Make sure that you drink a little bit of water right after this technique. This mini foot treatment is great if you're an athlete. I always do this one before I go out for a run. Let's start with our body scan and autopilot assessments. Bring your arms at your side and close your eyes. Using your body sense, scan your body for stuck stress. Notice your feet on the floor. Just notice if it feels like you've got more weight on your right foot or your left foot, or if you're noticing a region of either foot being more noticeable on the floor. Scan up your legs. Notice if you're engaging any muscles in your thighs or butt cheeks, or if you're locking out your knees. If you can relax any of your body in this position, you're already sensing autopilot inefficiency, which is going to decrease your efficiency when you go to move. Draw your awareness back down to your feet. Notice if, even though you know your feet are side by side, if it feels like one foot is stepping in front of the other. Finally, let's challenge the autopilot. Lift all 10 toes off the ground and help your autopilot to reacquire its signal to your center of gravity by challenging your balance. Take a focused breath, and on an exhale, drop all 10 toes to the floor. Notice if your body drifts forward. Remember, if you feel your body drift, that's a clear sign that your autopilot is functioning a little inefficiently. And if you're going to do any type of athletic performance, we want to get that autopilot back on track. So let's start with the soft ball on position point number 1 underneath your right foot. Bring your feet side by side and just begin to shift your body weight a couple of times over the ball to find and identify your tolerable pressure point. Once you find that easy compression point, move your body any which way you want around your center of gravity to help your autopilot reacquire its nice, clear signal to your center of gravity. Come back up top, take your left foot, step backward, and bring that soft ball to position point number 5. Create gentle compression and take a focused breath. Then decompress half of your weight to even out your weight from left to right, and let's go with our glide. Remember, gliding is about the consistent pressure, so slowly work that ball consistently from position point 5 all the way to the back of your heel. This is an area for a lot of athletes that is full of stuck stress. Wait till we get to the firm ball. Bring the ball back to position point number 5 and tighten the wiggle for the shear. This is what's going to create that fluid exchange in the tissue. But instead of rinsing here, we're going to wait for a moment and transition to the large firm ball and produce even a greater fluid exchange. Decompress the ball and get the large firm ball from your packet. This time, remember, this ball is not going to squish like the soft ball. Bring your heel behind the ball and see if you can identify position point number 1. Now, once you get the ball in place, try this. Lean forward and notice when you bow forward, you increase pressure. Sustain that same pressure as you come up, and let's try our indirect shear at position point number 1 by curling our toes in and then opening the toes and wiggling them. Try again, curling the toes in and opening the toes and wiggle. This is another way to create that fluid exchange against the muscles and connective tissue in your feet so that we can produce greater fluid exchange around the muscles that you need for that great performance. One more time, wiggle the toes. Take a nice focused breath and then decompress and bring the ball of your feet down to the ground. Move the ball to position point number 5 and let's try gliding with the firm ball. Now, when you used the gliding with the softball, it was more of a preparatory technique to prepare connective tissue for the shear. But when you use the firm ball, as you travel back and forth over your heel, this is a great way to identify accumulated stress in your feet. If you're noticing as you're going back and forth, there's some crunchy feeling in the heel, that's what it feels like when connective tissue becomes stiff and inflexible. And again, this is not what you want to have great performance on, are stiff, achy feet. Bring the ball back to position point number 5, and let's try that direct shear by creating that small local compression with the firm ball. Then wait, give the tissue a moment to adapt, take a focused breath, and now let's rinse using the firm ball. Bring the ball to position point number 2 and rinse over the bottom of the foot, stepping forward once you reach your heel. Remember, you'll go under each toe all the way to the heel. Now, again, notice when you're using the firm ball, I'm not pressing harder or trying to inflict pain. Because the ball doesn't squish, you're just creating a more accurate compression as you go from toe to heel. If this feels sensitive, you can always do this part of the treatment with the soft ball. Last technique is friction. Take a focused breath, balance on one leg, and create that light friction motion underneath the entire base of your foot. Take a nice focused breath and let it go. Bring your feet side by side. I want you to reassess your body scan, and let's add a spine flex and hip hinge assessment. Bring your arms to your side and close your eyes. Remember, use your body sense and see if you can feel the fluid exchange in that right leg. If you're noticing on the right side your leg feels more seamless and integrated, we already know that we've created better movement for the leg itself. Now open your eyes and let's see if we've actually created enough fluid to produce the movement up to your spine. Bring your hands onto your thighs. I want you to round your body forward and bring your fingertips to your knees. Let your head hang forward and let your arms dangle. Look down at your fingers. If it looks like your right arm is reaching a little longer than your left, we know that we've created a fluid exchange clear up to your spine. Look at the difference between my sides. Hinge at your hips. I want you to fold down. Even if you don't feel an arm reach change, I want you to notice the tensional pull on the back of the legs when you create that flexibility. If your connective tissue is hydrated, you'll feel a more seamless pull on the right leg, whereas the left leg, if it's absent of fluid, you'll find the tension is more at the lower leg and up near the hip. Soften your knees, take your time, and round yourself all the way on back up again. Did you feel the change? I hope you did. Let's try it on the other foot. Bring that soft ball back underneath the center of your left foot. Once you have the ball here, I want you to bring your feet side by side and begin to shift your body weight left to right. Remember, try to find tolerable pressure, not pain. Once you can stay still and create that gentle pressure on the center of your foot, move your body around and help your autopilot reacquire its signal to your center of gravity. Then come back up, take a step back with your right foot, bring the ball to position point number 5, create gentle compression, and take a focused breath. Then decompress half of your body weight so that you have natural balance between both feet and begin your glide. Keep the pressure consistent. Remember, it's not a fast motion, it's just consistent back and forth, all the way to the back of the heel to prepare the connective tissue for the shear force and the use of the large firm ball. When you come back to position point 5, tighten the wiggle for the shear, take a nice focused breath, and let's compress and wait for a moment. Give the tissue a second to adapt. Now step backward. Let's get the large, firm ball. So again, bring the ball under position point number 1. And remember, the heel is going to stay on the ground and the toes are going to relax over the ball. Create a little gentle pressure just by leaning forward so that you can tolerate the compression and come back up again. Sustain your pressure and create the indirect shear by curling your toes in and then opening your toes and wiggling them. So remember, an indirect shear is a way to contract muscle to yield the fluid exchange between the layers of your muscles and bones. Try this 2 more times, curling the toes in and opening your toes and wiggle. And 1 more time, curl the toes in and open your toes and wiggle. You might notice that your toes do not wiggle very much, so remember that this is a great way to release that movement. Bring your toes down to the ground, bring the ball to position point number 5, and start with your glide. So remember, when you're using the large, firm ball, slow down a little bit and investigate the tissue for areas of restriction or barriers. Take your time and just become aware if they're there. You don't need to do anything else but the glide over the heel. Bring the ball back to position point number 5 and create the shear at position point 5. This is what's going to bring the fluid throughout the entire foot and up the chain of the body once we rinse. Wait here for a moment, give the tissue a second to adapt. Take a focused breath, and now let's rinse. So again, you're going to start at the ball of your foot, and you'll rinse from toe to heel, and just step over the ball. Release it, go to your second toe, and step over the ball. Remember with rinsing, it's not the depth of pressure, it's consistency. Notice when you get to the 3rd and 4th toes, if the ball kind of moves from being a straight line, that's another way to recognize that your feet have become dehydrated and it's actually altering the bone positions in your feet. That can cause a lot of pain, not only in your foot, but up in your hip. 1 more time with the rinse, and now let's try friction. Very light. Remember, with friction, you'll always go back and forth twice, and this is your go-to move so that you can create a little bit of fluid exchange in your body from day to day. Just take focused breaths as you create this light motion. You're not creating compression on the ball. Super light when you do friction. Just help to stimulate some of that local fluid against the skin and just underneath in that superficial layer of connective tissue. Take a nice focused breath and let it go. Let's go back and do our body scan. Put your feet side by side and close your eyes. Remember, notice your feet now. If you're noticing that your footprints feel more rooted and balanced, notice if your legs have less contraction in the muscles or if your joints feel less locked out. Draw your awareness even to your arms. You might even feel like the entire body has balanced. Take a nice focused breath, and let's also do the autopilot assess. Take a focused breath and lift all 10 toes. I want you to notice how your body is negotiating balance now. You might find even with your toes lifted, you're more stable. Take a focused breath, and on an exhale, drop all 10 toes to the ground. Notice if your body remains absolutely still. Open up your eyes. Remember, this is a quick treatment that you can do before or after any performance activity, and it will improve your performance and decrease some of that accumulated stress that occurs from doing any of our activities that we love to do from day to day.